Welcome back to the Alone with the Mouth podcast, the podcast in which I drink one Diet Coke and then improv for 12 straight minutes. This is also the only podcast that contains zero logical fallacies. Today, I want to get straight into the topic. This topic has been consuming my mind for the last 12 hours, and I want to talk about why you need to worship Mr. Beast. That's right, Mr. Beast is worthy of your praise. And I know what you're thinking, oh, why? Is he some sort of god? Some sort of demigod? No, that's ridiculous. He's actually a male witch. Mr. Beast is a male witch. First of all, I kind of want to go into the backstory of Mr. Beast because it's something that he's really kept hidden from his audience, and I think it's fair that you guys hear and learn about Mr. Beast's upbringing. So Mr. Beast was actually born in the 1500s. He was born in the 1500s in Scotland, and he has been alive for over 500 years, if you can do the math right. Why would he want to live for this long? Well, you see, back in the 1500s, being a male witch, he had access to potions that allowed him foresight into certain aspects of the future. And one of the things he realized is that in the 2000s, this thing called YouTube would be invented. And from that day, since the 1500s, he has obsessed over the idea of YouTube, over the idea of being a YouTuber, over the idea of being the biggest YouTuber. And here in 2023, you see he is the biggest YouTuber, so he accomplished his goal, but it took a lot more than you thought. To accomplish his goal. He's been plotting since the 1500s, right? He's been generating ideas, generating ways to get people to listen, to watch his videos for over 500 years. So obviously you get very good at it, very good at anything if you have 500 years to practice on it. But he had to prepare the world. The world at that time was not yet ready for his takeover. And so he had to introduce more evil into the world, right? If there was not a lot of evil in the world, there's not a lot of bad things to fix. And if he can't fix bad things, then no one's going to want to watch his videos. One of the first things he did was introduce homeless people into the world. He took people, he robbed their homes, he took all their money, he destroyed their homes, and so that way they had nowhere to live. And the reason he did this so early on in the 15 and 1600s is because he wanted to establish the idea of homelessness as kind of like a normal thing. That way in the 2000s, right, when he was in America, everyone was familiar with homeless people in their country and in countries abroad. And so that way when he gave $10,000 to homeless people and put that in the title of his videos, everyone knew what a homeless person was. So he started little by creating homeless people. Another thing that he did was he created diseases like cancer. He invented blindness. It actually started with him just kind of poking people's eyes out, but realized using his potions, he had much more efficient ways of causing blindness. That way he could later on here, like in 2023, create videos like I cured 1,000 people's blindness, right? So every time you see him do something good on a YouTube video, you have to realize, sure, what he's doing is good, but he is also the cause of the bad thing that is happening to these people. Sure, he cured 1,000 people's blindness, but he caused their blindness to begin with his little potions. Because he is a male witch. He's not a warlock, he's not a wizard, he's a male witch. I want to be very clear about what he is. He is not a warlock, he's not a wizard, he is a male witch. Moving on, he also invented things like, well, first of all, he knew that he had to be in America to be a very successful YouTuber because America was going to provide unique opportunities for him. And so he helped, not only did he help, he was born after Christopher Columbus, so he was not a part of that whole, ooh, that'd be bad. I think he'd be canceled if he was a part of Christopher Columbus's crew. But he did help Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and that whole crew in the 1700s. He helped them migrate over to America and helped them become an independent country because he knew that would also help him in his YouTube endeavors. And so he helped, he obviously fought in the War of Independence. He continued to fight actually in the War of 1812. And he did not partake in the Civil War, I don't believe, but he did partake in World War I and World War II, just trying to make the world the perfect ideal place for him to thrive as a YouTuber. He also did a couple other things. He not only created poverty and homeless people, he not only created diseases like blindness, or whatever. I don't know if blindness is considered a disease, but whatever. Different. There's lots of different reasons why people are blind. But he also spent his 500 years learning different languages, right? If you pay attention to Mr. Beast's YouTube channel, you know that he has YouTube channels in a bunch of different languages with all of his videos in different languages. And he knew that that would be just another way for him to generate more revenue on YouTube. And so he spent those hundreds of years learning other languages, right? If you have 500 years, you might as well learn a couple of other languages. And so he was able to do that. That way he knew he would just be able to pump out more YouTube content if he knew more languages. He also, so back to the idea of why you need to worship him, a lot of it comes down to he has much more power than you think. He has more power than you think. A lot of people think, oh, he's just some rich guy who gives people money and helps them out. But he does much more than that. And before we get to the kind of power he has, one other thing he invented actually, red circles did not exist until Mr. Beast invented a red circle in 1912. Before then, it was just like black and white circles. But he invented the idea of a red circle in 1912, and that's why you see red circles a lot in his videos, because he actually patented, or the patent is no longer pending. He actually patented red circles in 1912. So he has more power. He obviously, not only because he's been alive for so long and because he has insight into the future because of his little potions, but because he has everyone, he has so much more influence than anyone else, right? He has garnered this influence through his little potions. And I guess you want to know, okay, like, I know I've talked about how he's a wizard, and you're like, he's not a wizard, he's a witch. I apologize for that. I know I've talked about how he's a witch, and you guys are like, oh, how on earth did he get those witch powers to begin with? Genetics. He just genetically passed down from his ancestors. So if you're wondering how that works, there you go. I told you guys I don't have any logical fallacies in my argument. So he has these witch powers, and so he's able to have foresight into the future. He's able to cause diseases. He's basically able to do whatever he wants in this world. The world is his playground for making YouTube videos. He has also been cloning himself. That's another thing he's been able to develop in the last couple of years, because he realized that if there's more of one of him, then he has more time to make more different kinds of YouTube videos. So he's been cloning himself, and so now there's like 17 Mr. Beasts out there. Each of them have a different person trapped in their home for $1 million, or are curing foot funguses or other stuff like that. But I think we should be afraid of Mr. Beast, because right now everything is going so well. But I think we need to start to worship him to keep him satisfied, because he has so much power and there's nothing we can do to remove that power from him. But because he has so much power, he could easily turn, right? If YouTube starts to go downhill as a platform, he no longer has anything to pursue, to live for. If YouTube kind of starts to go downhill as a platform, or if his YouTube channel start to go downhill for whatever reason, right? If people decide that, hey, maybe I don't like all of this content that has been sucked, that like the life has been sucked out of these videos and have been manipulated in ways that only care about watch time, and there's no there's no art behind it, there's no creativity behind it other than what can keep my attention. Maybe people will get sick of that and his YouTube channels will start to fade. Then his powers might turn for the worse. Things could go downhill. So a couple of things, because right now he has a bunch of just, great video titles. He's doing a lot of great things in his videos. But one thing I kind of worry about is if things start to not go his way, he might start to create other videos, right? If things don't go Mr. Beast's way, he might create videos like, I gave 1,000 people HIVs, or last one to leave the circle doesn't become an orphan, or I spent 48 hours suffering in the pits of hell. You know what I mean? Like he could start to make darker kinds of videos that could negatively influence the next generation if we are not worshiping Mr. Beast. And so I think we really just ought to be careful, because at this point, there's nothing we can do to stop Mr. Beast other than just give in to his demands. And his demands are to get like lots of views on his YouTube videos. So thankfully, his demands are pretty simple. If everyone just watches all of his videos, we'll be just fine. And we're not going to have to worry about him destroying this country, this world. But I do have a prayer for Mr. Beast. So recite this every morning and every evening before you watch 18 of his videos before going to bed. This is the prayer. And this, sorry. Let me get into form. You have to say it like this too. In today's prayer, we're going to thank Mr. Beast for not destroying this world with his magical, mythical witch powers. You have to say it like that, and then you have to kind of jump up and down. Like there's going to be jump cuts, and you need to make woo, and you need to scream after you say that, because it's the prayer needs to kind of resemble the intro to a Mr. Beast video. And so that's that's how you need to start every prayer, because you need to be able to grab Mr. Beast's attention. And then after that, you can kind of come up with other ways of praising him. But again, this is how you need to start your prayer. In today's prayer, we're going to thank Mr. Beast for being the best YouTuber ever. So yeah, you just need to start it off with, in this prayer, we're going to thank Mr. Beast for, and then you're going to continue with whatever you are thankful for on that day. For now, Mr. Beast, there's no reason to be afraid of Mr. Beast. There's no reason to be worried about him. But he could turn for the worst at any moment. And I know what you're thinking, for maybe the younger generation out there, how could I become like Mr. Beast? How can I gain these powers? How can I be this successful? How can I live for 500 years? How can I have so much power to where I could destroy the world with a finger snap? And it's pretty simple. You just gotta work hard. If you work hard, you can also become a witch who has lived for 500 years and is the best YouTuber on the planet. You can do anything you want if you work hard enough. That's a lie. That's a lie. You cannot become anything you want by working hard. You also need to get extremely lucky. But you also gotta work hard. Okay. Thank you for listening. Go check out, I have a book, I've written a book, I have a bunch more of these kind of podcast episodes. I have like actual sketches where I sit down and actually write things and just improv for 12 minutes into a microphone. Go check out my other contents, please. I am desperate for help.